Yo, welcome back. So today we're gonna talk about this insane new reveal for Path of Exile 2. It was an incredible live stream yesterday, but I definitely wanted to kind of like go over some things that they talked about and talk a little bit about it and just kind of like point out a couple of things. And yeah, man, let's just start from the end. So first and foremost, we're getting 100 new support gyms, which is absolutely insane. It's probably one of the best things we could have added to the game. In all honesty, my expectations was like, I want to say like 30 to 40 new support gems. That was kind of what I expected. So getting 100 is outrageously, like, it's just so much. It's insane. And not only are we getting 100 new support gems, we're also getting 22 new skill gems, which is basically for the huntress. But as you know, you can use any skill gem on any character. So in the end, it's basically just 22 new skills to be used for whatever you like. We're also getting 100 new uniques, which is absolutely insane. Now, it's still kind of up in the air what kind of uniques we're getting. We don't know quite what that entails. We have seen a couple of them, but it's not like we have like a whole list of them at the moment. So that's something that's still to be discovered. Same goes for the support gems. We don't have the full list yet, so it's still to be discovered. But I am very much so looking forward to dipping into this and checking it out. There was also 5 new ascents, 2 being for the new character, which is the Huntress. And both of those are kind of looking sick. I'm not gonna lie, that looks really, really nice. But we're also getting 3 new ascents for existing characters already. So 1 for the Mercenary, 1 for the Warrior, and 1 for the Witch, which all look super cool, honestly. I have been looking over the new ascents since we do have access to what they do, and I must say it looks amazing. It just looks like something I can't wait to get into. I'm really happy with what they presented this time. It was, I want to say, like probably like 4 times to 5 times more than I had expected it to be. I did expect them to go kind of crazy and put a lot of stuff in. I just did not expect them to put this much stuff in here. Also, so we are getting new end game mechanics. One of them being wisps, which is basically something we are familiar with from PoE 1, where we have the wildwoods, which adds the wisps to your map. They have though changed it a bit though. They did do quite a little bit of an upgrade on it. So now it's a little bit different than what we're used to, but still looks absolutely amazing. It looks so crazy. One thing to really note here is one of the wisps, it was called a Sacred Wisp, had the ability to upgrade an enemy. So basically, a normal enemy would be upgraded to a magic enemy, and magic would be upgraded to a rare, and a rare would be upgraded to a unique boss. So that just sounds insane. Like, it sounds insane. That might be a little bit broken, and it might catch a little bit of a nerve. Just off top of my head, it sounds a little bit crazy, but it also sounded kind of like it wouldn't be the most common thing. So for that reason, it's gonna be awesome. I am pretty sure it's gonna be really awesome. Also, they're adding 10 new Atlas points. With that comes a bunch of new notables and notes that we can pick off the Atlas tree, to basically min-max your wisps, for instance, or one of the other new mechanics. Also, we are getting another new mechanic called Rogue Exiles, which we kind of also are familiar with from Path of Exile 1. However, they also changed these a little bit. So basically now you're playing against the Rogue Exiles you're going to meet will have the skills available to players. So it'll be somewhat like a PvP situation where it feels like you're actually playing against another player. And there'll be 12 different exiles with their own skills. And on top of that, they can hold unique items. And if you kill them, they will drop the unique items that they are holding. However, do note that their mechanics and their intelligence is way better than what you're used to from regular enemies. So they have a very smart AI that can use dodge rolls, they can evade your attacks, and all kinds of stuff. So they will be tough for sure. And I'm not sure about the hardcore situation here, if that's going to be painful on hardcore, but in terms of softcore, it sounds fucking amazing. I cannot wait. Um, we are getting an kind of a buff to towers and kind of a nerf at the same time. So basically, they're nerfing the amount of towers we're getting. So instead of you having to do 5 towers and then buff all your maps and then do the maps that you want to do, now we're getting basically a third of those, so a lot less towers, and they won't be overlapping the same way they are now. So that basically in turn means that you're doing a lot less towers, but in turn you'll be able to add 3 tablets instead of just the 1 tablet. And when you complete them at a higher tier map, it increases the amount of mechanics that gets put onto the maps. And when you complete a tier 15 tower, then you're basically you're getting 4 times as many breaches if you put a breach tablet in there. So that part was super nice. That's something I really was hoping for and talking about a lot in my review video. Also, they are adding new bosses to each tower, so each tower will have its own boss, which is also something I thought was gonna, or said that would be a very cool thing. I was hoping for that, and now that we have the confirmation, I'm super happy to hear it. It just sounds so fucking cool. On top of that, they are adding some new tablets, that being unique tablets, which have absolute, like, one of them is insane. It basically allows you to do any map within the range of that tower without actually having done the connected maps. So basically we should name this tablet the Elon tablet because that's perfect for him, so he doesn't have to sit there and press one of the nodes with 4 things on it, and figure out that he can't go into it. Now he'll just add the tablet and he'll be able to go into it. So he might actually be able to play the game now, which is awesome. On top of all that, we're not even halfway done. This is going to be quite the video. We're getting 7 new maps on top of that, which is insane. I wasn't even expecting that many. I was thinking like 2 or 3 new maps, but 7 is amazing. And there is a couple of maps I want to highlight. One of them being a boss wave map where there'll be 10 waves of boss fights. That sounds amazing. It sounds tough too, and they'll basically become more hard to complete as you move through them. So wave 1 will be easy, wave 5 will be medium, and wave 10 will be hard, right? So that just sounds amazing to me. They'll also be dropping new ruins, which is only available from this specific map. Then we have the mirrored map, which basically every time you're fighting an enemy, there will be a mirrored version of the enemy. So if you're fighting a rare, there'll be 2 of them instead of 1. And this map will basically drop a new base type for amulets and for rings, which is also something that we kind of know from Path of Exile 1. It's kind of like the Helico ring, for instance. Very, very nice. Sounds super, super awesome. Cannot wait to get into that. On top of that, we're getting an essence map that basically allows you to add essences to the map boss. So the more essence monsters you kill, the more of those essences gets added to the final boss. So it's kind of a risk-reward thing where you have to make a decision if you are able to actually kill them if you add this amount of essences to them. Do note that it will upgrade the essences, so your normal essences will be greater essences on the map boss itself, giving you better rewards, but also making them a lot tougher. On top of that, we are getting 4 new essences, which can be attained from corrupting essences, which we will now be able to do, like in Path of Exile 1. Sounds super, super cool. They have some amazing abilities. And we are also getting an extra 10 points for our Atlas, so we can now spec even more into it. And basically, you can focus and hone in on what you really like to do, and you can do that mechanic more than we could before. So that sounds absolutely amazing. It sounds incredible. There's so much stuff in here that it's kind of, like, in my opinion, it's kind of overwhelming a little bit because there's so much new stuff. We're getting new strong boxes. There'll be 4 new strong boxes, unique strong boxes, that is, with different abilities and different rewards. I'm not going to go too much into that. If you saw the live stream, you are already aware of this. I saw the live stream and the Q&A, and they did mention a couple of things in the Q&A that I'm going to point out. They also changing the Doriani quest at the end of your campaign. When you're completing your campaign and you get into the end game, you're going to start doing maps. Beforehand, Doriani would give you a quest. You have to do X amount of maps at this tier to gain a Atlas or 2 Atlas points. Now they're changing it, so basically what's gonna happen is you will now find something called corrupted nexuses, and these things will basically now you basically have to complete this nexus in order to cleanse the area from corruption. And when you cleanse the area of corruption, you'll receive your 2 Atlas points from completing that corrupted nexus. But not only that, doing it will, as I said, cleanse the corruption. And once you cleanse the corruption, that will then in turn affect all the maps in the surrounding area and make them cleansed. Making them cleansed gives you the ability to drop a new orb called the Fracturing Orb, which we are also very familiar with if you play PoE 1. It basically allows you to guarantee a mod on an item, and it will never be able, you will never be able to change that mod once it's fractured. That sounds amazing to me. And basically you'll have a rare item with 3 mods. You use a Fracturing Orb, and one of those 3 mods will then become fractured. So that way you can keep crafting on it until you're happy with it, and that will then in turn just give us a better opportunity for having great items at the end game. That was really a big issue. For instance, for my level 96 monk and my level 95 blood mage, the amount of upgrades I'm getting has been far in between, just because it's so hard to craft a rare item that's actually good. Once you get a certain level of item, or like once it's at a certain point, it's so hard to upgrade because there's no real deterministic way to craft anything. But now we're gonna get a lot more determinism with the Fracturing Orbs, for instance, but there is also other things that would allow for more determinism, which is awesome. So basically another way we're gonna be able to craft, which is basically my favorite way of crafting at the moment in terms of PoE 1, is called recombinators, which allows you to merge 2 items together. One thing they didn't say in the reveal itself, but they talked about in the Q&A, was that now they have changed the recombinators, so we can basically choose certain mods that we want to transfer, and those mods will then have a way higher chance of actually transferring into the item. However, the more mods you choose, the less of a chance you'll have to transfer the mods. So if you only pick 2 mods, there's a pretty high chance that you'll get both of them. But if you're picking 6 mods, there's nearly like 0 chance you'll get them, right? So it's kind of a situation where you have to pick and choose, right? Where you have to figure out what you want the most. This will be a part of the expedition mechanic. So now the expeditions will have their own crafting mechanic. Besides our rock crafting, this is going to be way, way better in my opinion. It's a way more simple way to craft. It's way easier to understand for new players. And since we don't have scouring orbs, you will have to actually find the items you want to use, right? Like you have to find the base and then upgrade it, or you have to find a rare item that has the mods that you really like. So that makes the items a little bit more interesting when they drop on the ground. Now you really want to pick up your bases or pick up rare items or blue items and ID them and see if they have like 3 or 4 mods that you really, really want. So that sounds super awesome in my opinion. They're also changing how you sustain the waystones. So from now on, you won't be able to drop a waystone that's below the waystone you're currently running. So if you're running a T5 map or waystone, then you'll only be able to drop T5 or above from that map. You'll not be getting T1s in a T5 map, which is an amazing thing. On top of that, they also changed the whole one portal situation. So depending on how hard the map is, how many mods it has, and if it's rare or magic or white, that will in turn determine how many portals you're getting. So in the early game, this will help so much. It kind of felt a little bit like a punishment getting into your map, like early maps when you just got through the campaign at the first time. Now it's gonna feel a lot more rewarding and a lot easier to do. So we'll still, once you get to the real end game and you're doing like super juicy maps, it will be only one portal. But at least in the early game, now you'll have 6 portals to kind of like fail the map 6 times before it's over. That will help so much to just that early grind, right? Like that a lot of people have been having issues with. We are also getting shinies now, so the reliquary keys will start dropping, but there is a kind of a little bit of a thing here. So for certain uniques, in order to drop a unique that's specific to an end game mechanic boss, like for instance Ritual has the Ingenuity Belt, or the Breach boss just has the Hand of Wisdom. Those will you will only be able to get those shiny keys to those items by killing that specific boss that would drop the item normally. So basically, in order to get your Ingenuity in a shiny version, you will have to kill the King of the Mist, or to get the Hand of Wisdom, you will have to kill the Breach boss just, right? So I think that's very smart. It's a very, very good way to do it. It also kind of like gives you an extra chance of getting one of those items whenever you do kill them. On top of that, they changed how the uniques of those bosses drop. So beforehand, you had to do like T4, which is like the highest tier, to get a certain unique, right? Like for instance, the Against the Darkness diamond unique jewel. You would only be able to get that if you had like the maxed out ritual, but now you'll be able to get it from even a tier 1 ritual, like the first type of ritual. So the first time you do it, you'll be able to have the chance to drop the very end or highest tier of uniques. They'll be of course a lot more rare when you're doing them on a lower tier version of that boss, but at least you're able to actually drop them now, which is amazing. And then they said, so in the Q&A they talked about balancing, and they said that they are gonna nuke all the broken combos. They're gonna absolutely destroy all of those builds. There won't be any of those left. So don't expect going into this league getting to play the one tap all the screen, whatever, right? Like those builds will get nerfed completely into the ground. However, there will be new combos, so don't worry. There will be new combos. People will find it. We will spend a lot of time figuring this out, and then at some point in the near future, we'll figure out other builds that are just like that. Don't even worry about that. Just make sure you're not starting this new league out trying to make a build that exists that's completely, utterly broken right now. So, for instance, my Blob Mage is gonna probably be gone, right? Like, there will not be a 15 Divine Blob Mage that you can kill the Ubers with. That's just not gonna happen anymore, sadly. With that specific combo of skills, gems, and gear. But, that being said, as I said before, the Huntress brings in 22 new skills. We're getting 100 new supports. I guarantee you there's going to be broken ass combinations. So it probably wouldn't be quite the same as what we have right now, but it would still be equally as broken, right? So try to start out by doing something that's somewhat familiar. That's what I'm gonna do, and something I'm gonna look over the nerfs, and then I'm gonna figure out a build that I already kind of know that's still gonna work somewhat, and then that build I'll take to the end game maps, and once I get to the end game maps, then I'll like make a new character and swap the build into something that I want to play, like that's more like the new Huntress, for instance, or something like that, right? It all comes down to how much I enjoy it, but I will for certainly be playing something a little bit more familiar on the first week or so, and then later, once I have currencies, once I have a lot more to spend and some gear saved up, then I'll be doing some of the newer stuff. So I highly suggest doing it like that, because then you're basically guaranteed to making it into the end game and getting a little bit of currency and whatnot to start with, and then you can basically swap into whatever build you want. They are gonna change all skill gems that's currently in the game. So the way that's gonna work is certain gems will get a nerf, others will get a buff. Because at this current state of the game, they basically all gain the same amount of buffs when you do like level them up. They get the same type of buff. Now they'll get an individual buff depending on that specific skill. So that's gonna make it a lot more balanced in the end game, and you won't have nearly as much headaches with it as you did before. So that is super awesome. I'm so happy they're doing that. I'm so ready for them to nuke all the broken ass shit and just get rid of it, because it is kind of boring to play when you just one shot all the fucking things without ever having to think about it. Like basically, when I got to level 95 on my Blood Mage, I barely ever looked at what I was doing. I just like ran forward and kept throwing out my sporks, and everything died off screen, right? So I didn't really have to think much. I could like watch a movie on the other screen while I'm playing, and just basically focus on watching the movie and not really focus on what I'm doing. Just listen for the sound of a good drop, and hopefully that'll change. Of course, new skills and new support gems are going to provide another set of those issues, but once we get to release, we should be at a point where all of these things are like in a state where it feels a lot better than it is right now. They are gonna change mana and ES as well, because they felt like the mana and ES is completely outrageous in comparison to life, so they're gonna bring that more in line with the life builds. So expect a nerf to ES and mana. That just is basically a guarantee. And yeah, man, so we'll have to wait and see what that entails. We still don't have the patch notes yet, so they'll just have to wait, and we'll have to see what happens with that. They are also buffing the rituals. So now the omens will be a lot more common, which was really a fucking issue at the moment, where you want to get a good omen to basically craft your item, but in order to get that omen, a good one, like just a random one here, the withering one was like 20 divine yesterday when I looked. And 20 divine for one omen, that's not even guaranteeing that you're getting anything out of it, right? Like, it's so insane. It makes it to where there's a very few people who actually get to make stuff, right? Because it's just too fucking expensive for a regular person to actually be able to do that. And that in turn kind of ruins the opportunity to make good gear in the end game, and therefore they felt like that needed a significant buff, which we are getting. So basically now you'll be guaranteed one omen per window, as far as I understood it, and that in turn will give you way more pools of the good ones, right? Like, you'll have a way bigger amount of them in the economy, and that should in turn basically make them a lot cheaper, right? Like, 20 divines is unacceptable for one omen. Is unacceptable in my opinion. I would say like one divine is fine, but 20 is absolutely outrageous. Um, they were also talking about you could say like the idea or dream, the vision for the game, in terms of player power, and damage output. It should be around 50k as regular character, and then at the very very true like super high end game gear, that should be 10x basically. So you should be getting up to like 500k damage or something like that in that area. That was what they said they would be okay with. So no more 60, 70, 100 million DPS, right? Like, that shit is gonna be gone by release. Like, of course we're gonna have more of those builds, that's guaranteed, in early access, but they are gonna nerf those builds. So if you are one of the people who are making that build, expect that shit to get nerfed. If not, like, in the current league or in the hunt, Dawn of the Hunt, then at least when the next league comes out, those will get absolutely destroyed. That's basically a guarantee now, because they said the vision for the game would be 50 to 500k DPS. So do not expect to one-shot the Ubers and stuff like that once the game comes out. That will probably be gone. And you will have to learn all of the mechanics for all the bosses. You will have to understand every one of them. You will have to have a good, you could say, like, you want to have a good understanding of like voice lines is usually what I really go for, because most of the dangerous attacks has a voice line that comes with the attack, so you can kind of hear, oh, he says annihilation, now you know it's like this attack, or he says whatever, right? So that is something people will have to pick up on, and also other things like certain visual effects happening. You will have to keep an eye on it. You can't just sit there and not pay attention to anything and just run it blind, which I really enjoy, the fact that you have to pay attention to what you're doing and you can't just mindlessly look away and just play without actually looking at what you're doing. Now you will have to do that at least at the release, right? Like, probably not early access, because as I said, there will be so many other broken as things. But I am, for one, really optimistic with where we are heading. The idea, the vision is something I really like to hear, what they were thinking and what they got in what they've been cooking and what they have in mind for the future. And so at the end here, I kind of want to just say I hope that everybody is gonna give this league a chance, and basically join the new economy reset, try it out, test it out. It's the best thing you can do for the game, since the real knowledge for them to understand what needs to change with the game comes from a reset like this. So even if you have like a really good character and you just want to play that, I still suggest you start out in the new economy. You play through the game and you get to the end game. You don't have to do all the end game or anything like that, but at least play through the campaign and get to maps and whatnot, and just try it out in the new economy. So that way they can use that information to better the game for all of us. That is like my one thing that I would like to say to all of you is please do that. So that way you have a you are basically adding to the game, right, by providing them more information on what needs to change. Yeah, so that is basically gonna be it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope you guys are ready for this new update, and I hope to see you in the online. I'll definitely be playing trade, so you'll see me around doing maps, doing all that shit whenever. And yeah, man, catch me in the next one. If you really want to see more content, leave a like, comment, subscribe, all the good jazz, and I will catch you all in the next one.